House to Home, presented by Remax Diamond Realty.
Reunited, and it feels so good. I finally have Liz Duenas and Gina Campos in one room at the same time with myself. I mean, it's a Zoom room, but it's a room nonetheless. Hafaday, Gina, we missed you terribly last week.
Oh, I missed you guys as well, Jason. Thank you.
And Liz, welcome back to the island. Of course, I saw you yesterday because, by the way, everybody, Liz was actually instrumental as the president of the Guam Association of Realtors for hosting a session with leadership from the National Association of Realtors. They gave this wonderful meet and greet presentation. You're really going to want to check it out. So that's on our YouTube channel. So please watch that in its entirety. But we are talking horror stories today, and I love a good scary movie, but I do want to kind of frame this as saying, despite Liz and Gina's combined almost 70 years of real estate experience and their intimate knowledge of the process and the paperwork and the approvals and the permits that have to go into securing a property, they are not exempt to the rules. They go through the exact same process that you and I go through. And Liz and Gina, you guys are big enough to actually share some of the stuff that you're currently going through with projects that shows that these processes are candidate for a major overhaul, right?
Yeah, I know Liz shared last week about construction, ongoing construction projects. And in my case, I also have an ongoing project. It's not my project directly, it's my son's, but I volunteered to help him with his water connection.
As a good mother should.
Yeah, absolutely. We volunteer for everything. But, I want to share because can you imagine, we have experience with construction, but even when you have experience, even when you know what you should do, when to do it and all that, we're running into a new ball game. Like with this particular project, I actually waited 8 months. I originally went to a contractor and I said, and by the way, for water and sewer lines, you cannot just hire your contractor. Building your home may not necessarily be, I can't say qualified because I always wonder about this part. They may not have the necessary license to put in a water line and a sewer line, which just blows my mind, right? Because in the old days, your contractor building your house, I mean, if he's certified to build your house, my God, you'd think he'd be able to install a water line, but not now. We have a new game in town, and the new game says that even though your contractor has a general contractor's license to build the house, so they could put the roof over your head, they may not necessarily have the license that they have to go pay it for a separate license so that they could install the water or the sewer line. So I knew enough that my contractor building the house did not have the proper license to put in the water, so I contacted somebody else. I waited about 8 months, and I finally, and I have to thank the inspector GWA, Henry Bell, thank you. He actually called me and said, "Hey, what are you doing about your water line? Your house is already going up. What's going on?" And he gave me valuable advice. He said, you can't just keep waiting. He said, "Gina, the materials, number one, we have a shortage." I mean, he gave me a list of things that I should be aware of, which if you're not in the business of plumbing, you won't know these things. So I'm thankful that he pointed this out to me. So I went to, and get this, Jason, I had to beg and yes.
Ain't too proud to beg.
No,
never.
Never.
To get that deal done.
Yes, absolutely. So I called, he's a friend of, I've worked with Leonard Villagomez since I first started in real estate. So I've known him.
Leonard do you know, Gina?
Three.
Your
one
husband,
I
your son, and
yeah. One I married, one is my son, and then Leonard Villagomez. But I called him and I begged and I said, I know you cannot take this project. I know how busy you are. I know you don't need more work, nor, it gets to the degree where it's not about, I don't need more work. If I take any more work, I'd be working 24 hours a day, literally. But I begged him and I said, "Leonard, I don't know who else to go to. If you don't do this for me, my son, his house will be built. We won't have water." So he agreed to take the project on. But now the rest of the picture, I mean, Leonard knows what to do, but what we've been asked to do was we've been asked to dig up the area so GWA could see where the lines are running. I have to draw up the plans ourselves, so you have to draw out the plan to bring in the water. You have to run a separate permit for that. I might have to pay bonding to the government of Guam because, of course, the main water line is on the road and I have to connect it to my son's house. And I just want to tell everybody, if you're building, and you don't have somebody to guide you, I can see why our community does not want to build here. It's hard, and Liz and I know what to do, and we still find it incredibly hard, right, Liz?
That's right.
Yeah, Liz, your turn.
Yeah, so Gina is building for her son, and I've got a home that we are renovating in Barragata, Lalo Barragata. So it's in the process of renovation so we could put it back on the market for rent. And as Gina put it, we had to go to Leonard because we know he has the wherewithal to put in the sewer line. So we needed to connect to the sewer line. Bear in mind, our renovation or construction work took like a year, and we're hopefully getting close to the finish line, but it's really a slow process. And the sewer line was another issue. And as Gina puts it, Leonard is busy, but fortunately, we know who to go to get it done. The problem is that's us. How about the rest of you guys out there who are building and have no one to turn to? But again, that's why it's helpful to contact someone that you know to help you, guide you through that process, a realtor that would help you through that particular process. But yes, building on Guam, prices are going up. Water lines and sewer lines are a different aspect of your building. It's part of it, but yes, a different aspect to connect and the costs associated with it and the permitting process associated with it. Because, by the way, part of the fees, I think, associated, if it's crossing the road, there are bonding and issues because let's say you're going to cut across the road and there's power lines, water lines, telephone lines, cable lines. There's so many other complications that are factored in. And then the government tries to protect themselves to make sure. So they impose certain fees to do that, that in the event you do cut through one of these lines, there's remedies that you have to repair it.
And so correct me if I'm wrong, but unlike, working with a contractor or getting an estimate from someone else in the supply chain, water and sewer, those are non-negotiable fees, right?
That's right.
That's flat rate.
Hey, especially if it's within the vicinity of where sewer lines are at, you would be required to connect to the sewer. So yes, there are fees associated with that, and you don't have a choice. And if the government tells you you have to go down half a mile in order to connect, which has happened to some of our clients, where the government has said, well, the connection is right there, this is what's going to cost to do it. But then when you're ready to connect and then there's a change and they say, I'm sorry, you're going to have to go down half a mile, that's a big added cost to your development or the home you're building. And it's an unanticipated fee that's associated with that.
Yeah, Jace, that's the reason we're bringing up all these little issues that are part of your construction, because your contractor, when you're building a home, he's really only responsible to get everything to your boundary line. So, your sewer connection, or if you're in a septic tank, it's a little bit easier because your contractor will do that. But your water and sewer connection, the contractor who's building your home will take it to your boundary. But somebody else, if the same contractor is not the one that's going to connect to the government side, then you need to have somebody else working that side of it. So from that point into the public side, you need another contractor. And that's why we're pointing these out. I can only imagine how difficult it is for consumers that we kind of do this day by day. We don't do construction, we do real estate, but we get involved with a lot of contractor, and we still find it incredibly, I've been scratching my head saying how
meticulous,
not meticulous. Yeah, it's just overwhelming.
Daunting, yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah, the amount of things you have to do, and let's say you have the time, but the cost associated with it, you know,
And how
every
about
time.
the intangible cost of like how much time it also takes too? Because I mean, cutting a check is one thing. Actually waiting on somebody else to, to rubber stamp something, or, I mean, there's that too.
Yeah, there's that, everything. But time is money. Every month that goes by, as Liz pointed out, the cost from the contractors increase. So if I can't get that job done within in the next 2 or 3 months, if I can't get approvals, I don't know that Leonard will be able to give me the same quote because his costs are going up.
And that's what Liz and I were talking about like last week. Under a contracting economy and everything, prices are subject to change.
That's right.
Yeah, and if you, I mean, you guys are so well trained and so experienced in the real estate industry. It's second nature to the both of you to cross all T's and dot all I's already and make sure that everything is like in order. And you still run into roadblocks here and there. So I mean, you're not, again, the two of you with all of your vast years of experience, you're not exempt from these problems, showing why we probably need to streamline the process a lot more.
Well, streamline, and I personally believe, although I am for less government, I believe that infrastructure, which includes water, sewer, power lines, I strongly believe that the government needs to participate with that. That, like if I can bring everything to my boundary line, for after that, I believe the government should step in and say from here, because it is the public, it is actually, I'm now connecting into the public service sector, right? I'm connecting my life to that. I believe that that is one of the areas that government should be participating with. I think we would enable more people, more local folks on Guam to be able to utilize their properties if the government were to have that position where, we're going to put in as much of the infrastructure as we can. And that way it encourages, private property owners to build on their own lots. It certainly won't hurt. It will help.
That's a great final word. Well, we'll tell you what, we got to run, but thank you for sharing. Unfortunately, some of the lengthy waiting and costs that you have both had to endure, just showing that you are not. Again, I've said this like so many times. You are not immune to unfortunately what we have to go through. So hopefully things are going to get better. All right. Thanks for watching House at Home, everybody. We'll see you next week.